Hey, Guns and Games here, back with another video, trying out a new format here today. I'm going to be doing it with the camera actually facing at me this time instead of it pointing down at a table at the gun. I'm going to try this format out, see how it works. I really don't know where to look into the camera exactly, so if my eyes bounce everywhere, I apologize for that. But we'll see how this goes. Getting to the matter at hand today I'm going to be doing a review of a gun I've actually owned for quite a while. I've owned this gun for over a year now. It is the PTR-91 GI, also known as the PTR-100 now. The name has changed. I got this gun from Atlantic Firearms a while ago. I can't remember precisely, but it's been over a year. And that is this fine firearm here. Flip it around. Not bad at all. The PTR-91 GI, or now known as the PTR-100, they just changed the name of it within the last couple of weeks, I believe. It is now going by the PTR-100. Not sure what or why the name change happened, but whatever. I got this gun off of AtlanticFirearms.com. You can find them elsewhere. I think they're on Classic Firearms, and I'm sure they're on other online retailers. I don't really pay attention to any others that sell like a lot of new products other than those two. Aim Surplus, J&G, those are about the only ones I look at. What is it exactly? Well, PTR Industries in general, the company that makes the rifle, they make G3 and MP5 platform rifles. I bought this gun back then for $860. It was on sale. Currently, it's on. I think it is on sale right now, but Atlantic has it right now for $929. I bought it for $859. So about $70 cheaper back then. The prices on these guns have gone up quite a bit. What did it come with exactly? It came with really only two things. You get a PTR Industries manual. It's a very short 15-page manual on how to operate the gun and etc., etc. And then I also got this. I forgot to get it out and have it prepped for the video. My apologies. Just a standard hard shell case. It's got a very light amount of gray foam in it. It's pretty cheap, but it is what it is. It's better than getting nothing at all. And you also get a surplus aluminum magazine. Not a new one. And what is it? Basically, what is the PTR-91 GI? Well, it is essentially a fairly accurate reproduction of the standard German G3. And it's not all 100% American as well. You know, PTR is really credited today with basically single-handedly, in terms of quality, actually keeping the G3 platform alive. PTR, when they started making these guns earlier in the decade, actually went out and bought all of the actual machinery that Portugal used to make their own G3s. They went out and, you know, Portugal doesn't make or use the G3 anymore. PTR went out and bought all of the machinery that Portugal used to make the guns, and now they make their guns with that machinery, so they're actually using real, you know, HK machinery to make their guns. The gun is also not 100% American made. There are actually a handful of surplus parts on the gun. You get a surplus magazine. Your furniture set is all surplus, so your buttstock. I also believe your recoil spring is also surplus. The buttstock, as well as the buttstock casing here, this thing that slips onto the and locks in with the pins to the both receivers, is surplus. You get a, so that also then includes a surplus pistol grip and then a surplus handguard. Also, your lower receiver here is surplus, and your trigger grouping is surplus. So you get actually a handful of surplus parts. I got lucky and got what appears to be an actual color matching set. Not all of them are like this. If you buy one, you might expect to get a mismatched set in terms of color. The colors might differ a little bit. I got pretty lucky, I guess, or I don't know how lucky I got. It really just, it's luck of the draw. But I got a set that's actually matching correctly. Everything else on the gun appears to be American made. There are some things that could be surplus. The rear sight could be surplus. I'm not sure. I do know for sure that the entire upper receiver of the gun, the bolt and bolt carrier group and all of that is American. The barrel is American as well. PTR makes all of that. And I would imagine things probably like the flash hider, probably American. The charging tube is American. The charging handle here could be American. Not really sure. I mean, the front sight could be surplus or American. I'm not really sure. There's just not a lot of information on what or what isn't surplus or American made on the gun that I could find. So it's kind of some guesswork. So there are some things, but again, I do know for sure the furniture set, the magazine, of course, the trigger group, and the lower receiver are actually German-made parts. These are surplus German-made parts. A couple of other things could be surplus, but I don't really know. But they're pretty good rifles. Again, it is the most accurate representation of the standard German G3 on the market that you can get. It is essentially the cheapest rifle PTR offers. Every other PTR product that is offered is basically over $1,000. This is kind of essentially what you could consider to be their budget model, and it's still $900 something. So is it really budget? No, but for them it's basically budget. But it's a pretty fine rifle, I have to say. I've done a couple interesting changes to it. The sling is not did not come with the gun. This is a actual German surplus sling that I got off of hkgunparts.net. I paid, I think, 15 bucks for it. Works pretty well. It just locks into the flap here. You just wrap it. There's a little bar in here. You wrap the leather piece around, tie it in with the stud, and then it, just clips on there. The other thing that I had to do in getting into some of the features is the rear sight is not adjustable. You can't just come back here and adjust the sight. You have to have a tool to do it, and I tried to get around that by taking a little bobby pin and like a screwdriver, trying to twist turn it. The rear sight is kind of interesting, but I ended up having to go and buy, also on hkgunparts.net, I ended up having to buy a rear sight tool. $20. It was $20 for this thing. The gun came to me originally set on its it's basically its close range sort of battle sight setting that is basically set at 100 meters. And it's actually it's a two-part tool. It's literally just a screwdriver, and then you get this headpiece thing that slips over the screwdriver here. Hold on. If I can get it back on, that would be pretty cool. Hold on, there we go. Ooh, there we go. So it's basically you just get these two little nubs here, and how the rear sight works is you've got these, it's going to be kind of hard to but if I can get it to focus, it's not going to want to focus. But there's basically a disc in the gun, or in the rear sight there, and these two nubs just get down in it, and there's basically it pushes this spring in, and it unlocks the sight and allows you to twist the sight. There are basically 4 settings on the sight. There is a sort of open, the standard 100 meter battle sight's just kind of an open sight, kind of like an AK, basically an AK sight. And then there are, the other 3 settings are apertures. You have a 200, 300, and 400 meter aperture, and I have it set on the 200 meter aperture. The sight picture is actually really good. You just look through the little aperture. The front sight is excellent. You get a very nice sight picture. Really nice gun to aim. Very accurate, I found. Very nice. The gun is quite heavy. You know, with a loaded magazine, this gun is very long. It's very long. It is a over 20-inch barrel. I believe it's a 21-inch barrel. And it is quite heavy. But it is what it is. The other issue I've had is charging the gun is kind of difficult. That's pretty satisfying though, of course. But man, I mean, just even getting the cocking handle, charging handle open is and flipped up is kind of a big deal. And then pulling it back takes a lot of strength. And I don't know, I know not all PTRs are like this, so just kind of interesting if it's just particular to this gun. But some of the higher end PTRs that I've handled are not nearly this stiff. The trigger is not bad. It's a standard military trigger. You're looking at a 5-6 pound trigger. No take up, no creep, no mush. It's just a wall. You just basically pull a wall with a brake. 5 to 6 pounds. It's acceptable. It is a surplus trigger. It is an actual German military surplus trigger group. Again, so not really going to want, you know, don't expect the best in the world, but there are a lot of modifications for this gun. There are a lot of parts, and even actual factory, you know, German surplus parts are available and whatnot. There are a variety of different handguards available. This is what they call the slim handguard. There is also the, I would actually say is probably more well-known wide handguard that you see in media and video games that depict the G3. They're almost always using the wide handguard. There's a variety of different butt stocks. This is just the standard fixed stock. There was also a collapsible stock. That's very nice, but those are horrifically expensive, and they are like $250. And the wide handguards aren't cheap either. I've been trying to buy a wide handguard, but they're like $75, and I can't find the one that matches. I can't find them ever in this color. This is like OD green, basically. Can never find them. I mean, I can find the black ones, the other different green colors, but I can never find wide handguards in this color. It's just kind of annoying. And the handguard's really not that great. Getting into actually my experience shooting the gun, I have shot over 500 rounds through this gun in the year that I've owned it. I shot both brass and lacquered steel case. I bought about 200 rounds, so 10 boxes of 20 of Monarch. That is just steel case lacquered Russian ammunition. Cheap stuff, $10 a box. Shot a lot of that through it, worked fine for the most part, and then I bought a big tin of, a while back, there was this big batch that hit the market of this Malaysian surplus ammunition, brass cased, loaded pretty hot, apparently. I bought one of those tins for like $110. 300 rounds, that's pretty cheap. That's like 30-something cents a round. And I shot all of that through it too. So of the 500 rounds I shot, one malfunction, and it was on the very last 2 rounds of the very first magazine I put through it. And I had a double feed, which was interesting. And it was a catastrophic malfunction. Just a straight double feed, locked the action up. I could not get either round or either case out of the gun. I had to actually go get a pair of pliers and yank them out. So that took me out of the fight. If that was an actual battlefield scenario or like a self-defense scenario, I would be screwed, and it would have probably gotten me killed. So that was not an intriguing sight. I actually straight up thought my gun broke initially because the charging handle and whatnot was just floating free. The charging tube and piece here was just moving on its own will. And I was like, that's not good. I actually literally thought something broke, like my bolt carrier group like split in half or something. I was like, that's amazing. But no, it was just a double feed, luckily, that I fixed pretty quickly once I yanked it out of there. And then after that, the gun ran completely 100% A-OK after that. I've had no issues with it since. And the gun shoots great. Very accurate. The sight picture, again, is amazing. And what really just surprised me about the gun was how little recoil there is. I mean, this is a full-size cartridge. It's .308, obviously, 20 rounds. And I was just amazed at how little recoil there was. How actually gentle, downright gentle, to some extent, the recoil impulse of the gun is. I mean, it's not incredibly heavy. I mean, it's heavy, but there are battle rifles that shoot full-size rifle cartridges that are heavier. It doesn't have a crazy muzzle brake, compensator. It's just a standard flash suppressor. It was amazing. And it can actually be even more mild because you can actually swap the recoil spring out for a heavier one. I know certain guns like the HK-21, which was like the light machine gun squad automatic weapon variant, they used a heavier duty recoil spring to help mitigate recoil even more. You can put one of those in it, and it'll dampen it even more than it already is. But I found the gun incredibly easy to keep on target with rapid fire at close ranges. I was shooting, mag dumping into targets 20 yards away, and it was very easy to keep on target, I found. It was incredible. And just how easy it is to shoot and how gentle it is. Didn't beat me up or anything. I mean, I was mag dumping it, and it's not like there's any cushion back here. That's hard plastic polymer. So, I mean, there's no padding or cushioning back here. It's not like a steel butt plate digging in you or anything, but still, it's not rubber or anything like that. And it did not beat me up, didn't bruise me at all after shooting hundreds of rounds in the span of an hour. It was remarkable. And then after that one little problem with the malfunction, thing performed excellently the rest of the day. It got really, really dirty, is one thing I noticed, and I knew this going into it. G3s get dirty very, very quickly. They are filthy. They get incredibly dirty. This gun is gas blowback. It's roller delayed blowback. And apparently that just leads to the guns getting very dirty. I know it's like an AR. I know ARs tend to get dirty pretty quickly too, but I think the G3 takes the cake. I mean, this thing was filthy after 200 to 300 rounds. I mean, just completely caked in carbon on the inside. It was remarkable. I mean, my bolt carrier, the actual bolt and whatnot is left in the white on this one. And after 200 something rounds, when I took it out to clean it, my entire bolt was basically looked like it had been parkerized. It had the finish not something like this. And I actually thought that's how the bolt was, and then I started cleaning it, and then it became white, and I was like, huh, that's amazing. And it was absolutely just completely filthy. And it's just funny because the malfunction happened when the gun was dry and clean. And when the gun got completely filthy, it ran fine. So the gun actually performed and operated better the dirtier it got, in my experience, which was just humorous. One other thing to note is the gun gets hot. Not only does it get filthy, it gets hot. And that's where the other kind of complaint I have with the gun is this handguard sucks. It's not very good. There is heat shielding. If you take it off, there is a heat shield inside. But damn, does it not do very much. I mean, this thing got hot very quickly. I was mag dumping it. But I mean, after 2 or 3 mag dumps, this thing was getting pretty hot. And actually so much so, it was getting hard to hold on to. And I actually had to hold it like this by the mag well eventually. And I actually burnt myself with this gun on my forearm. I accidentally dropped my forearm on top of the charging tube and burnt my forearm. I don't know how well it can be seen, but you can probably maybe see a line going across. It just completely burnt. And I had a pretty nasty scar for several months. So operating this gun with gloves is probably a really good idea, and you got to be just careful. I don't know how much better some of the other handguards would work, which is kind of why I wanted to get and want to get a wide handguard, because I just have an inclination the wide handguards may be a little better at that. Yeah, I mean, this thing gets hot. I mean, it just gets smoking. After 3 or 4 mag dumps, the thing was scalding. I mean, the charging tube was scalding hot. So it gets dirty and hot pretty quickly. Nasty. Cleans up easily, though. The gun is super easy to maintain and take apart. You just pop these pins out. You pop the pins out, the buttstock and plate comes off, and your entire bolt carrier, charging handle, and all that, or the charging rod and whatnot, will just completely fall out of the back of the receiver, and then you can actually just unhinge the receiver and take the entire lower off. The handguard is also held in with a pin. You just pop that out and the handguard pops off. Very easy to disassemble and clean. When it comes to battle rifles of the Cold War, the G3 really was kind of like an AK. It was kind of the AK of the full-size battle rifle world. These were pretty cheap to make, very reliable, very easy to disassemble and maintain. As far as battle rifles go, definitely the best. Just great. Very unique design. I mean, the gun in a lot of ways is basically just a larger MP5. Same action, roller delayed blowback. So, I mean, it's just straight gas, or just the straight, just the straight energy of the round blowing the bolt back, and it uses rollers, there's literally little wheels on the bolt that create friction that just delay the action to enough so then the pressure becomes safe and then it operates the system. Pretty unique. There's really no other guns that use this system to my knowledge, as far as like rifles or guns. There might be some pistols that use it. I'm not sure. But it's a really unique system. The gun also has a fluted chamber as well, which helps with extraction. So these guns, along with like MP5s as well, will just fling brass out of the gun like no one's business. I mean, it will, and I was experiencing it as well, it was just flinging brass 10 yards, 15 yards, just chucking that shit out of there. It's pretty hilarious. And so extraction's pretty good. But then again, I did get a double feed. So blame it on the gun. It might have been the magazine, but again, I didn't replicate the issue. So I don't know. It was just a very weird malfunction. So fantastic rifle. I think it's worth the money. So there are a lot of interesting things. It's just a really weird manual of arms too. You have this charging handle that you pull back and up and then you slap it. It's a weird manual of arms because when you're shooting the gun and you get on empty, you actually charge the gun first. So once you're shooting and you empty it, you then charge the gun and pull it back, then you swap magazines, and then you slap. It's a little bit of a different manual of arms, and it's the same manual of arms with the MP5. It's something you kind of got to get used to. It really is. It's a little bit different. They're just cool guns, and they're the cheapest full-size battle rifle cartridge you can really buy. You know, magazine-fed full-size battle rifle. You know, your other two big choices are like FALs, M14s. I guess you could throw AR-10s into the mix as well. AR-10s don't really count though. But if we're talking strictly Cold War, those are your three choices. These are by far much cheaper than FALs or M14s by, you know, $500 on average, provided you're not buying the garbage DSA Voyagers, which are like $1,000 too, but those aren't very good. DSA's quality has dropped quite a bit lately. PTR's quality has not. There is one other choice out there. Century Arms makes their C308s, but those are garbage. Don't buy one of those. Spend the extra couple $100 and buy a PTR. PTR actually knows what they're doing. Century does not. Don't buy any Century products that are actually made by Century. Their imports are okay. The guns they import are fine, but the C308s are like $600 something. Just spend the extra $300 and get one of these, or, you know, if you're wanting to stick to sort of a budget, get one of these instead. The PTR-91 GI, or now known as the 100. There's also the GIR, and the GIR is now called the 101. The only difference between the two is the GIR has a Picatinny rail mounted on the upper receiver for optics. Only difference, that's going to cost you about another $60 or $70. They're like right at $1,000. So that added feature will cost you a little bit of money. And that is a problem with this gun. Optics are limited. There is no rail, and you really can't attach one. I mean, you could weld one on, I guess, yourself. These guns historically did have an optic. There was a claw mount that you could put on the gun that would attach along the grooves here. And you can kind of see these little indents where it's supposed to, the claws are supposed to sit. So you would attach this claw mount, and then the Germans used a scope that they would mount to it and use these kind of as DMRs, basically. Other than buying one of those claw mounting scopes, and those are a lot of money, and they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars. That's really your only choice if you buy the GI model. So you might want to buy, I would recommend maybe ponying up the extra 70 or so bucks and getting a GIR model. You know, not historically accurate. I bought this one instead for the more accuracy of it historically, but that might be an option. You know, there are other options out there as far as furniture, like I mentioned. I actually have my cousin's example here. He bought a used MSG-91. This is the PTR-91 MSG perimeter sniper rifle. This gun is currently on Atlantic Firearms, listed for $1,600. He bought it used for half the price of $800. So you can get kind of something like this with an aluminum handguard with a Picatinny rail. This is actually for a bipod, not a foregrip or anything. It's in kind of a weird spot. Your foregrip would want to be here. So, but you can get stuff like this. You know, you can get this sort of sniper stock that has an adjustable cheek riser, rubber butt pad. You can get things like this. There's your Picatinny rail. You know, some of the other PTR products have the polymer lowers as well. Like this gun is 100% American, so, and it's got a polymer lower. And it's only got 2 fire settings, safe and fire. I'll get to that in a minute. And this is actually a common feature with a lot of earlier PTR products, the lack of a paddle magazine release. There is no paddle magazine release. The mag release is right here. It's this button. And it is in a terrible position. You see how I have to strain and actually have to adjust my grip to be able to, you know, release it. It's just horrible. This is how earlier PTRs in the decade were. And this is actually how all Century C308s are. They do not have the paddle. PTR eventually, thank God, switched over to the actual paddle release eventually a couple of years ago. So, you know, the paddle. So you just press the paddle. It's much like an AK, and it also, you want to kind of rock and lock it just like an AK. Pretty interesting. So much better. But I do still have the button. So there's that. And if my paddle gets damaged or something, I can still use the button. So, but overall, fantastic gun. I love mine. Love it. There are aftermarket parts, modifications you can do. You can get the GIR model and mount optics and stuff. If that suits your fancy. This suits me just fine, though. I might actually try and buy a claw mount and get the actual surplus scope one day, though. But overall, fantastic rifle. Atlantic has them right now for $929. The GIR model, 101 model, is about $1,000. I think it's like $995 or something. $1,020, something like that. One last thing to mention are the magazines are dirt cheap. I bought 12 magazines for $50. Magazines are like $4 or $5, and they're these black aluminum kind. They are dirt cheap, $4 to $5. Buy them. I bought a whole mess of them. They're very light. They're an improved design that was introduced later over the original steel magazines. This is an original steel magazine. These are significantly heavier. I bought a bunch of these I found in a local pawn shop that I frequent. He had like 6 or 7 of these, and I bought them for also $5 a pop. The steel magazines tend to be a lot more. They're like $8 to $10. They're still very cheap too, but they're a lot heavier. But they are a lot sturdier, and they will last a lot longer if you use them. So they're just better, I think. But they're a lot heavier. The noticeable, the steel ones are noticeably heavier. They are noticeably heavier. It's pretty remarkable. There's all sorts of stuff again. Very well made. Again, PTR actually knows what it's doing, and they make really good guns. Unlike Century C308s, which are probably dubious in quality at best. But I do know Century actually uses PTR now for their C308s. Century, to my knowledge, is using PTR parts now instead of using their own that they make. So they basically just buy, they're using surplus parts for those wood classic ones now, and then they're buying PTR parts and putting them together. So they're at least getting good parts now, but just buy directly from the source, from PTR itself, you know, just better. But that's basically all my complaints. Very few complaints. I mean, the handguard kind of sucks. Charging the gun's a little difficult. But the gun is superb. And it's now very reliable, practical, easy to maintain, very accurate, low recoil impulse. I love the sights. I love the look. The gun just looks fantastic. I love the look of the G3. It's a battle-proven design. This gun has seen lots of action worldwide. Very popular. Lots of parts for them. Again, proven design. This gun dates back to the early 50s. Its predecessor was the Spanish Setme B. Very old design. This gun actually has some origins in World War II, even, actually, as well. The first roller delayed blowback gun was the, it was like the Garot 06H, which was kind of a gun that was developed alongside the STG-44. Looks pretty similar. Same round, the 7.9 by 32 Kurtz round. Very similar gun in terms of its looks. So I like the gun a lot, and that's just my experiences with it. So I think it's fantastic. PTR is a great company, and when it comes to the battle rifle debate, I think I'm a G3 man. I would like to get a FAL one day, but I'm a G3 man currently. I prefer the G3 over the FAL and the M14. Maybe I'm a little biased, but fantastic gun. You know, 929 at Atlantic Firearms. And one interesting note that I forgot to mention is the lower receiver. How to know if you have a German surplus lower? You'll have these three things at the bottom. S is safe. E is semi-automatic. It's whatever E is some word in German that means semi-automatic. And then F is fully automatic for whatever fully automatic in German means. So if you have three letters like this, that means you have a German lower. Now this gun is not fully automatic though, sadly. But thanks to the Hughes Amendment. I'd like to have one, but you know, whatever. But fantastic gun. Go buy one. And that's going to really about do it. That's basically surmises my thoughts on one of the most proven battle rifle, or just rifle designs, period, of all time, the G3. And by extension, the HK53 and 33 and 21 and the MP5 as well. So, that's going to about do it. Sorry for my long-winded ramblings. I was going to maybe try and keep this under half an hour, but I failed as usual. So, tell me how you like the new format. If this goes over well, I'll keep doing sort of like my long rifle videos in this format. So, I am, of course, Guns and Games. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one.